There's no denying it. The world is in crisis. Unless you're pure transcendent mind or a nihilist, you might not be fine with it. You might be sick. The climate shifts, titans and tyrants vie for the tightest grip. The crises are diverse. But one might inquire if all of these agonized varieties of strife and rift are underlined by what their one bottom line is. Avarice, affluence, influence, finance. It's a common refrain. Blame the economist. But what job is named by that name? Is it obvious? Is the job that has the broadest effect upon the populace? It would probably be best to define what its province is. Ecos means house. Nomos means rules. It's the rules of the house. But whose house is whose? Why do people lose their houses like you see on the news? People may not be economists, but not all are fools. So what are its tools, and what are its concepts, and what are their underlying ideological contents when we talk about growth, gross domestic product? Just because we've got growth, does growth mean progress? Does it often benefit these and not those? As it speaks the open secrets ideologies impose, do we need to rearrange how economics goes? Rearranged economic spells comic nose. Economic questions, it's an economic question. What the heck is going on? It's an economic question. How's it all connected? How's it gonna get corrected in the present and beyond? It's an economic question. What's the GDP per capita? The total output that's in a society divided by the people that it hasn't. At the peak in economic speak, that's like a country's stamina. The data that when gathered demonstrate its people have the stuff they need. But do they need it? What's that mean? We need to eat, but do we really need a piece of every piece of green in Eden? Are the goods we manufacture really good because they sell? Does economic well-being really mean being well? Could theories be objective when theorists depend on the patronage of people who are able to spend? Does it work for the layman or for them who can lend? Can we make ends meet while we meet common ends? Economic questions, it's an economic question. What is going on? It's an economic question. How's it all connected? How's it gonna get corrected in the present and beyond? It's an economic question. I don't have the answers. I'm not a prophet, nor am I a master of the science of profit. Whether that science is misapplied or a proper fit is up to us. It's something that the science cannot predict. If you want better answers, you need better questions. The best preventive medicine against the depression. All the young economists with honest intentions. We'll see you at the YSI Plenary session.
Hello, everybody, and
welcome to the YSI Plenary.
We're coming to you live from the Lighthouse. My name is Jay.
I'm Heska.
And I'm Thomas.
And we are your YSI management team. As the world hangs in the balance of the aftermath of the US election, a raging global pandemic, serious crisis to our society, environment, and way of life, we've reached an inflection point. INET was born in a previous crisis, the global financial crisis of 2008. It was founded in the recognition that this economic crisis was also a crisis of economic thinking. In fact, large parts of the economics profession somehow held the belief that we had solved the economic problem and that we could somehow apply a narrow set of methods to each economic reality. Now, we're here today because we know this to be a fallacy. Now, don't get me wrong. In YSI, we don't pretend to have the answers, but we have come to know some things to be certain. YSI is about curiosity, imagination, and ideas. To think about the world and how to change it. YSI is about feeling. The feeling that you're not alone, that we're together and inspire each other, that we're one but different. And YSI is about responsibility. Responsibility for our own lives and those around us, so that we together can face the challenges of the world today. So, in order to create economic thinking that is free of intellectual barriers, resonates with reality, and serves our global society, we today want to start by asking new economic questions. Questions by our mentors and speakers. Questions by our young scholars, all your fellow young scholars, all of you around that are watching today. Questions that are staring us right in the face, and questions that we have to bring out over the course of the next 10 days. At this YSI Plenary, so many strands of our work and contributions are coming together. So let us take a moment to appreciate that much of what you see around is the result of the efforts, the volunteer efforts of your fellow YSI members. The hundreds of initiatives led by your coordinators and organizers. The building of our governance structures with the Community Report Committee and its advisory teams. And our platform development, which now allows us to make YSI a home for 14,000 members. This is truly a remarkable achievement by all of us together. Now, we are grateful for the unconditional support of INET in nourishing our community. To Rob, the governing board, and the entire staff, thank you. Without you, none of this would be possible. To our mentors, who care so much about our intellectual development, we're grateful for your goodwill and care. So we have come a long way since that INET Paradigm Lost conference in Berlin some 8 years ago. As I stand here now, it makes me proud to say that that same fire and energy is with us today. And we are ready, maybe perhaps more so than ever before, to be the change we hope to see and to contribute to society. Now, I think we all can get excited, and I would like to turn it over to Heske and ask her, what can we expect over these next 10 days?
Thank you, Jay. And thank you all for joining us here today as we embark on this journey at sea. Over the course of a 10-day program, we will be charting our course and reshaping the future of the research we do. We already got started with warm-up week. In the past few days, many of you took the opportunity to board your working group ship and to meet your crew in introductory sessions. But if you're just tuning in, welcome. Take today to find the working group ship that best matches your interests, and take a look at the sessions that have been planned for you there. Those sessions give you the chance to dive deeply into the subject matters that matter to you most. You can have in-depth discussions with peers from all over the world. And you can connect with mentors who are experts in your field. It's also a chance to discuss the state of your field as it's responded to this tumultuous year that we are in. That's what the ships are for. But as you make your way through the week, don't forget to have a little fun as well. Social Island is your rest stop. It's a place to make new friends and to reconnect with people that you might have met at YSI events around the world. You'll have a good time because there's a bunch of surprises waiting for you there. But today and throughout our program, we will also look up at the stars. The stars represent the new economic questions that connect us all. Throughout the plenary, we will collectively discuss those questions and work to determine which ones are the most pertinent. It's a challenge, but we're in good company. We have the help from world-class thinkers. Just today, we're going to get input from Rob Johnson, Joe Stiglitz, Mervyn King, Martin Wolf, Thomas Ferguson, Ursula Costantini, and George Akerlof. Each of them will share their thoughts on which questions are most pertinent for them. And with their input, you can mark your favorite questions. You can suggest rephrasings to questions, and you can add questions of your own to each of the constellations. So that in 10 days from now, when this plenary wraps up, we will all have converged on 100 questions. 100 questions that will help us set the course and inspire the work we do together. That's when we hope you will all join us for follow-up week. That's the time to let yourself be inspired by those questions and to brainstorm the projects that you might do with YSI in 2021. As the next generation of economists, we have the opportunity to transform this discipline. Let's take it. And now, let's hear from Thomas about the philosophy behind this approach.
Thank you, Heske. Thank you, Jay. Hi, everyone out there. I'm so happy to be here with you. We've been really excited about this for a long time. I've probably met a lot of you out at YSI events all over the world, and now we're together in this weird virtual form. I know that you are anxious to get started. You already heard from Jay and Heske, and now you probably want to set sail and you get out there and explore the Plenary platform. Just give me 5 minutes here to allow me to explain some of the philosophy behind these 100 questions that you're starting to hear about, and this idea of what we're going to do in this next part of the Plenary. So, as you probably know, or many of you already know, what brings us together in YSI is that we are committed to the idea of new economic thinking. You can go into the YSI web platform and find the YSI Guiding Principles, where it will say that the purpose of YSI is that we need to transform the discipline of economics by embodying the change we want to see. And we use that phrase quite often, but what does it mean? And actually, if you think about it, you can find some kind of like a strange double-sidedness in this phrasing. On the one hand, our hope is to be the change we want to see. That means we don't want to tell other people how they should do economics. YSI is not here to say so-and-so is doing economics wrong, so-and-so should do economics differently. We are here to do economics ourselves in the way that we want to do economics. That's why we sometimes refer to YSI as a playground of ideas, where we can do, where every approach is allowed. On the other hand, the point of this exercise is to transform economics. But that means that we have to think a little bit about, like, how do we on one hand allow openness and inclusivity to every approach, but at the same time have a shared cause. It's actually a difficult exercise, and we've been thinking a lot about how can we do both things at once. And we think this exercise that we will do at this plenary with the questions is the solution to this problem. Because we think that by focusing on the questions instead of focusing on the methods, we can get a shared direction without telling anyone how they should do economics. And I do think that it's a common problem with economics that it's always thought of as a method, right? Way too many people think of economics as a technique that you can apply to every problem. Some people even think about it as like a sub-branch of math, when it's actually a social science. And in order for it to get back to that role, we start with the questions. Just as like you're probably all familiar with Lionel Robbins' definition of economics as the allocation of scarce resources towards competing ends. And if you use that definition, then there's some questions that will simply not be economics. That definition limits us from the questions that we can ask. And in YSI, we think that these questions are too important. They should be asked. We need to ask those questions. Because those are all the questions that make people study economics in the first place. Those are the questions that we meet in everyday life. Those are the very real economic questions that we read about in the newspapers. They shouldn't be dismissed as not economics or not relevant simply because they don't follow a specific technique. So that's why we have framed this plenary around setting a new list of questions, the new economic questions. The questions that we are going to be facing as the next generation of economists, as the young economists, are not the same questions that were old economists, our predecessors, were facing. So when you come to YSI, we will not start by having a group of micro, having a group of macro, having a group of statistics or math and so on, or like how economics is usually done. We start with the questions. We start with the challenges that we're facing as a global society: inequality, sustainability, financial stability, and so on. These are the questions that we need answers to right now. Jay already said we were at an inflection point. We need these, and as economists or as social scientists, we have a responsibility to deal with them. So that's why when we come together this week, or the next 10 days, we are here to make a list of 100 questions. That is a list that can hopefully help us chart a course, a research agenda for YSI as a community. How all of this is going to happen, you're going to find out. Just go out and explore the platform. It's going to be clear. You're going to see the constellations. You're going to see all the custom-built software that our friends over at Entropy Fox have made in order for us to have this exercise, in order for hundreds of people to work together on making a list. You'll find all of that out. But for now, just get excited, go explore the platform. And before then, I'll let Jay introduce Rob Johnson.
Thank you, Thomas. Well, now, before we move on with the program, it's my distinct pleasure to introduce Rob Johnson, the president of the Institute for New Economic Thinking. You will rarely find anyone who journeys through more bodies of knowledge than Rob. He's a man of music, as I'm sure you'll hear a Bob Dylan quote in just a minute. Well, Rob is also a sailor, which I think will make him right at home in our YSI Plenary world. Rob, once again, none of this would be possible without your support. We're very grateful for that. I'm here to report to you that the kids are all right. And now, it's my distinct pleasure, Rob, to afford you the opportunity of asking the very first question of the YSI Plenary. Take it away.
Thank you, Jay, and thank you to all of the YSI team for putting something together and continuing to inspire us. The first question, what is your true purpose? As you become an economist, you will live in a context of peers, potential dating partners, mentors, financial incentives, the whole context of life. I've often joked that the purpose of YSI from the vantage point of INET is to help thousands of you mitigate the depth and the duration of your future midlife crisis. What I'm saying is, in my question, to go into and explore your true purpose, become mindful of the urges and needs that you have, and mindful how a community and the nourishment, the learning, the togetherness can help you to become something that you could say enthusiastically you have been to your grandchildren someday. It's a very, very difficult task. I would say that I often quote the Eastern philosopher Alan Watts. He has a book called The Wisdom of Insecurity. And there's a parable in it where he says, if you sat down at your desk with a yellow pad and built out your strategy, every time you felt anxious and you put that sheet of paper in the drawer, that 40 years later, you would pull out all the sheets that you had put in the drawer. And in all likelihood, your life looked nothing like what those plans suggested. They were designed to alleviate your insecurity in a world of what we call radical uncertainty. The famous poet and novelist Rainier Maria Rilke once said, be patient towards all that is unsolved in your heart and try to love the questions themselves. Like locked rooms, like books that are now written in a very foreign tongue. Do not seek the answers which cannot be given to you because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps you will then gradually, without noticing it, live along some distant day into the answers. When I look at the vitality of YSI, I must congratulate our team led by Jay, Thomas, and Heska, because I would never imagined the scale, the intensity, and the vitality of what they would create. As we speak today, I do hear echoes of music from the city of Philadelphia, which happens to be the fulcrum of the place where the outcome of the election may be determined. And in my mind, I hear the voice of the wonderful singer Teddy Pendergrass, who at the time was one of the lead singers for Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. And he sang a song called "Wake Up, Everybody." Wake up, everybody, no more sleeping in bed, no more backward thinking, time for thinking ahead. The world has changed so very much from what it used to be. There's so much hatred, war, and poverty. In the second verse, he begins to request change. And you as future thinkers, teachers, thought leaders are, how would I say, called to action. Pendergrass sings, "Wake up all the teachers, time to teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen to what you have to say, because they're the ones who's coming up and the world is in their hands. When you teach the children, teach them the very best you can." The questions are 90% of the answer. Focusing on the right questions. Pope Francis's most recent encyclical on the fraternity between brothers and sisters and coming together, his ridicule of some of the stale ideologies that emanate from the deification of markets and the deification of personal, what might call fame, fortune, and power, are, how would I say, his criticisms are very, very penetrating. And he shows them to be in contrast with some very, very moving aspects of spiritual discipline. I don't take you out in the pathway of spirituality in order to neglect the very real material conditions of life, being responsible for children, for your elderly parents, for your own health, the money that you earn, the quality of the nutrition that you can afford, all do matter. That's why I ask you to define your real purpose, because it does appear to me some of what you can band together and wrestle with and have been wrestling with are these treacherous things which I am a sailor, as Jay said. It's what it's what Odysseus referred to in Homer's Odyssey as the siren songs of temptation. That sense of your true purpose and your true nature, and that, which you might call awareness, that at some level we're alone, but we're also alone together. And to become vulnerable, to reach out, and overcome the fears, and go to the place where you are nourished by others, you are strengthened by others, you learn from others, and you teach others, is, I believe, how would I say, the only ingredients that I would introduce into the, which you might call, nudge towards defining your purpose. But that is your own private business or with a group of trusted friends. So Jay inspired me to bring up Bob Dylan, and his writings, where I'm most moved, are very early in his career. Those of you who have heard Economics and Beyond podcasts know that the outro at the end that I use comes from the last verse. He said, "Where the people are many and their hands are all empty, where the pellets of poison are flooding the waters, where the home in the valley meets the damp, dirty prison, where the executioner's face is always well hidden, where hunger is ugly, where souls are forgotten, where black is the color, where none is the number." And here we go. I'll tell it and think it and speak it and breathe it and reflect it from the mountains so all souls can see it. Then I'll stand on the ocean until I start sinking, but I'll know my song well before I start singing. Your true purpose is the essence of your song, and the togetherness that you can achieve, that fortification of strength, that help in navigation, couldn't be stated better than when Bono sings in the last verse of the song that I used to open the Plenary in Berlin. The U2 album Achtung Baby was made in Berlin, and Johnny Cash at the time, according to my research, was the person who was most emulated in karaoke bars in Berlin. And he sang the song One, where the last verse says, one love, one blood, one life. You've got to do what you should. One life with each other, sisters and my brothers. One life, but we're not the same. We get to carry each other. We carry each other. One love, one life. That was the entrance to the beginning of the opening of a conference where the miracle of the Young Scholars Initiative was born. I still think that that stands true as a guiding light for your next phase. And regardless of the outcome of this election, the intensity that will be required of the people of your generation is enormous. It is a burden that I wish my generation, with all its failings, had not put on your shoulders. But I do believe that you have there's no turning back. There's no turning back. And you can't hide from the scope and the scale of what's happening now. And you can't build yourself a fortress of money and insulate yourself from the very powerful ramifications that are shaking all of our foundations at this time. I wish you the best. I'll be in and out of the conference throughout the time and celebrating your energy and celebrating your effort and celebrating what the Young Scholars team has put together. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Rob. We really appreciate those warm words. And we are fully aware of the daunting task that's ahead. And this is very much at the heart of our conference, that we will recognize that the challenges that we're facing as a global society are much bigger than can be answered by one person, one approach alone. We need to bring everybody together, and we're really excited to bring all of you into this conference to develop a sense of the scale of the problem and to do it playfully in a fun way. We are here for the long run, so we might as well look around as much as we can in this virtual environment to get to know your fellow travelers. We're here for about 10 days in this virtual landscape that we will share together. And I just wanted to point out that Rob will be with us, as he said, throughout the conference, but specifically on Social Wednesday, Rob will share with us his Sailing Through the Storm music hour, in which we'll go through some of the songs that inspire him and that he likes to share with us, and to create this experience together with us, to create our own playlist that might motivate us to go forward. And of course, he'll be at our award ceremony and game show that follows that evening. Now, on the serious note that Rob gave us, I think I also want to emphasize that we are in the Lighthouse, and we are next looking forward to the constellation called, I think it's called, Thomas, globalization? Is that what Joe Stiglitz is talking about? I think that's right. And so as we all get ready, and I'll now actually excuse Rob, and Heske, because they need to go over to the green room, to join Joe over there. And as they do that, I just want to really second what Thomas said earlier. This is our landscape. We share it together. We've built this from scratch with the intention of us living in it together for these next 10 days. And it's truly an intellectual exercise we're trying to engage in creating these 100 questions. And at the same time, we want to do it in a fun way. So as Heske also said, go to the social island whenever you have a chance. Meet us in the Good Coffee Society over at Social Island. There's so many things going on there as well. All the working groups have put a hard weeks in, hard months in to prepare a program for you. So now is a chance for us to all appreciate this. And as Rob said, no matter the outcome of this particular engagement, what we're dealing with is much larger than life. But don't worry, YSI is as well. And so with that, I just invite you to Social Island for a quick coffee break, and see you in a couple minutes for our first headline act with Joseph Stiglitz.